Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Gandhi's autobiography, The Story of My Experiments with Truth, Chapter 3 about child marriage. Here, Gandhi says that he did not wish to write this chapter, but he has to do it, otherwise, he cannot say that he is a worshipper of truth. And he says, therefore, I am recording this painfully because I got married at the age of 13. And when he sees all the young children of his age, that is, who are under his care now and are only 13 years old, being very free without getting married, he cannot avoid himself thinking about his marriage and pitying himself. And at the same time, he feels that he has to go and congratulate these young ones for having escaped getting married early. And he also says he has no moral arguments to support his early marriage. And he also tells that the reader should not think that he got betrothed at the age of 13. He says, I was married itself at the age of 13. And in Kathiawad, that is where he was born, marriage has two riots. One is first betrothal, then marriage. Now, this betrothal, he says, is a promise between the parents of the boy and the girl that they will make their children to get married. But at the same time, it is not something followed very strictly. They can even cancel the betrothal later. And in some parts of India, if the boy dies, the girl will be made a widow throughout her lifetime. But here it is not like that. In case if the boy dies, the girl will not be a widow. And he says that this betrothal is only an agreement between the parents. Many times it will not even be informed to the children. And Gandhi himself was betrothed thrice. And he says, I was not even aware about it. And why he was betrothed thrice is the first two girls died. And then only he was betrothed the third time. And he says, I do not remember anything about this betrothal because this third betrothal took place when he was 7 years old. But about marriage, he says, I remember clearly and I will record it here. Like he had three brothers. The first brother was already married. Now his second brother, who was about 2 or 3 years elder to him, and a cousin who was 1 year elder to him, and Gandhi. All these three were about to get married on the same day. And he says that this is easy for many people because it will save money and the time also for the families. And even the workload will be instead of three for only one. And he says this is because Hindu marriages are not simple. The parents of the bride and the bridegroom will literally ruin themselves itself in this marriage process. They will spend a lot of time because they will take months of preparations in preparing the clothes, the ornaments, and the budget for the dinners. And for each marriage, they will try to do more number of items than the previous marriage. And women, they will sing whether they have a good voice or not. They will sing, and in fact, they'll even fall sick and disturb their neighbors also. The neighbors also will be quiet for all this disturbance because when they have any function in their house, they will also behave in the same manner. And here he says, his brother, who are both the brothers, the brother and the cousin, they all got married at the same time, and therefore the expense was less. And because the money which has to be spent for three marriages is spent in one marriage, expenditure was done lavishly. And his father and his uncle, both of them were old. So they wanted this to be the best because they were the last children in the family to get married. So considering all this, the triple wedding was decided. And he says months of preparation was involved in the marriage process. And only because of this process, Gandhi got the warning that he is going to get married. But according to him, the idea of marriage was wearing good clothes, all the drum beating, marriage processions, where they'll be made to sit in a car and go in all the streets, and rich dinner. And above all, he will have a strange girl to play with. And he says that carnal desires all came later only, and he feels that it is shameful for him to record it now. And he says, I will say about it later. And he says, the central idea about telling this is I want you all to know what happened. His brother and he were taken to Porbandar from Rajkot. And after going there, many things happened. It was like a drama, like smearing turmeric on paste on their body and all that. But he says, I'll better avoid all that. And his father was a divan, but anyway, he was under the Nawab. So he had to take permission from the Tahir Sahib to come for his son's wedding. But Tahir Sahib liked him a lot, so he did not allow him to go till the last moment. But when he allowed him to go, he ordered a special coach for his father. And this reduced the journey from 5 days to 3 days. So 2 days journey was saved. But the fate was different because Porbandar is 120 miles away from Rajkot, and by cart you will take 5 days to travel. But his father was traveling the same distance in 3 days. But what happened is the coach toppled, and his father had severe injuries that he came to the marriage with bandage all over his body. And this half destroyed the ceremony itself. But they could not change the marriage day because after so much of preparations, they cannot change it. And Gandhi says that in his childish amusement of the wedding, he also did not think much about his father's injuries. He says, I am devoted to my parents. But at that time, he says, his flesh, the happiness, the pleasure, put him fully away from it. He was only involved in his own thoughts. And he says that I did not learn fully how to be devoted and sacrifice my own happiness and pleasure for my parents. But as a punishment for me, an incident happened. And he says that I will tell later. And even today, when he remembers the song sung by Nishkul Anand, saying, renunciation of objects without the renunciation of desires is short lived, however hard you may try. That is, if you want to give away objects, first you give away the likes. Your mind must be prepared for it. Otherwise, avoiding any object will be only for a short time, however hard you try. First, your mind must avoid it. You must prepare yourself for it. This is the meaning of the song. And he says, whenever I sing this song, or even if I hear this song, my mind will only go to this bad memory, which will fill me with shame. And he says his father was very brave. In spite of all the injuries, he took part in all the ceremonies of the wedding. And he says that I can even remember the places where my father sat. And he says, little did I dream then that one day I should severely criticize my father for having married me as a child. Because I never thought at that time, I will think about this. Why did my father get me married at that age when I was only a child? And whether it was right or wrong, at that time I thought everything is correct, and I was also very happy because I was only eager to get married. And what happened is, everything that my father did at that time, of course, was beyond my recognition. I was not in a place to avoid it or say anything to my father. I was only able to listen to what he said. But everything what happened at that time is still like a picture in my mind. I can remember everything, what all we did, how the wedding ceremony went on, what all we performed, that is Sattapati, and how we gave sweets to each other, and how we began to live together. Everything is still in my mind. Particularly, he talks about the first night when they were alone. He says it was like throwing two innocent children into the ocean of life. In fact, his brother's wife had thoroughly coached him about how he has to behave on the first night. And he says he did not know who had coached his wife because he had never asked her about it, and he does not have any idea about asking her now. But he says the readers can be very sure that both of them were nervous to face each other. In fact, they were very shy also. What was he to talk to her, and what was he to say to her? Nothing was there. The coaching did not help much, but he says coaching is not at all necessary in these matters because life will teach you how to live. Because gradually they came to know each other and started speaking freely. They both were of the same age, but Gandhi says, soon I started behaving with the authority of a husband towards my wife. He ends this chapter here. If you have anything to record, please do write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, And if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. Thank you.